Good morning, everyone. Thanks again for connecting to our webinar to present the findings of our latest impact assessment. Many thanks to you, Jacob, for taking the time to join us today, and also to Stefan Neugebauer, who will be exchanging with you later on this morning. As I mentioned briefly, we had quite a lot of interest, and I see some people are still connecting. It's a very nice mix of representative from the European Commission services, as well as from industries, universities, research organizations. We also have some member states represented, including the chairwoman of the 2-0 States Representative Group. It's very nice to see you there, Eleonora. Thank you very much for joining us, and it's very nice. Hello, Eleonora. Very nice to see a very strong interest from your side. I also see our former Secretary General, Josef Affenzeller, being there. It's really nice to see that you are also connecting and keeping an eye on what we are doing in the 2-0 partnership. Let me briefly go back to the meeting rules, just to ensure that we have a smooth run of the meeting. I would kindly ask you all to keep your microphone muted and not to turn on your cameras, just so that you can really keep focus on who will be speaking. Just to remind you that the webinar is recorded and that both the presentation that Jacob will make and the recording of the session will be made available after the event. So why did we decide to have such a webinar today? In 2023, EGVIAfor2zero decided to launch an impact assessment of the European Green Vehicle Initiative, a partnership between the association and the European Commission services. And for us, it was really important to be able to demonstrate with a neutral assessment what has been the achievements of the partnership, what is the added value, and what could be the potential impact on the longer term. It's not the first time that we are doing such assessments. We made one for the Green Cars initiative. We made one for the 10 years anniversary of having a partnership with the European Commission. And for Green Vehicle, we wanted to have a new one because even if we are fully aware that there is a clear benefit and an important benefit of having a partnership between the industry or the research community and the European Commission, we wanted to have facts and figures to be able to properly demonstrate and communicate on these benefits. The study has been commissioned to strategy engineers, and Jacob was kind enough to join us today as one of the co-authors of the study to present the findings in just a minute. As I mentioned at the beginning, his presentation will be followed by a discussion with our chairman, Stefan Neugebauer, and we will keep a little bit of time to exchange with you and hopefully compile some questions from your side, requests for clarification, or maybe trying to deep dive into one or the other item. Thank you again for joining, and Jacob will give you the floor for you to present the findings, and looking forward to hearing more from you.
Perfect, thank you, Lucy. Can everyone see? I think this is sharing now.
Yes, it's perfect now. Thank you, Jacob.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jacob Foyle, and I'm a manager at SE. I, with the SE team, conducted the impact assessment that Lucy just introduced, and we'll be presenting the outputs of that assessment today, probably over the course of about the next 20 minutes. Ultimately, obviously this all goes back to last year. So EGVI, being a contractual public-private partnership, was launched in 2013 as part of Horizon 2020, with the objective to promote European R&I for the transport sector, increasing the energy efficiency of road vehicles, and encouraging a transition to alternative powertrains. ESSI completed this impact assessment last year for the EGVI programme in 2023 to better understand the outputs and the added value of the initiative and its projects, assessing against 6 criteria as shown here on the right. That's relevance, effectiveness, efficiency, long-term EU benefits, attractiveness, and EGVIA value add. And then taking those criteria and evaluating them along and corroborating them against 3 separate data sources. So desk research, a questionnaire, and interviews. The desk research was conducted by our team, and then the questionnaire and the interviews were to EGVI participants, obviously compiled by us with support of EGVIA, and then were delivered either online for the questionnaire or in person with interviews across a number of, I think, over 20 interview candidates, both in person and online too. So, from this impact assessment, we found that the European Green Vehicles Initiative achieved its objectives, and in doing so, laid the foundations for today's EU-funded R&I initiatives, such as the current Horizon Europe, and generated many tangible and intangible benefits for the European Union transport industry and beyond. There were 3 key impact areas and outputs that stood out from the study, as shown here. That's road transport decarbonisation, improved industry competitiveness, and research network development. For road transport decarbonisation, by not only supporting R&I topics, but also ensuring integration of advanced technical outputs, EGVI contributed and continues to contribute to road transport decarbonisation today and into the future. For improved industry competitiveness, by building on core skills critical to green vehicle technologies, a faster achievement of commercialisation has been supported and a better and more competitive workforce developed. And for research network development, projects enabled further collaboration than would have been possible without EGVI across a broad range of stakeholders, supporting standardization and broader information sharing. I'll now go into each of these one at a time and talk in more detail about that. So for road transport decarbonisation, by increasing technology innovation, targeting critical topics, and actively demonstrating integration of project outputs, EGVI helps accelerate electrification, drive road transport decarbonisation in the EU and beyond. EGVI projects targeted and led innovations, demonstrating tangible improvements. For example, driving range, not just for EVs, but for the broader vehicle fleet through holistic combustion engine vehicle type efficiency improvements shown in demonstrated vehicles. A keen focus targeted impactful technology topics critical to decarbonisation, such as range anxiety through increasing EV range, and created outputs that were relevant and effective going forward. And 3, with the concentration on not just isolated components and advanced technologies, but on the integration and demonstration of these technologies on vehicle, EGVI integrated over 35 innovative technologies to green vehicles that may have contributed to an increasing number of electrified vehicles on the road. So talking about item 1, R&I topics were targeted on critical subject areas and typically required projects and participants to demonstrate innovation in outputs. Development programs targeted a diverse set of relevant topics addressing complex and multifaceted items such as energy storage advancements, hybridization, and holistic vehicle efficiency, not just looking at individual technologies, though obviously lots of important work was done in these areas as well. Foundational early phase R&D was supported, ensuring the more credible and valuable ideas were carried through what might be called the valley of death to add value on vehicles, and quite monumental value, where the level of risk could have caused issues for private organisations to take these on independently. It also developed innovative technologies with clear commercialization pathways, like Thomson's cost-effective mild hybrid solutions that demonstrated rapid transition technologies that are applicable to current fleets with low-cost uplifts and supported by a range of relevant industry participants who were interested in their rollout. Point 2, there was a keen focus on impactful technology topics critical to decarbonisation, ensuring relevant and effective outputs, not just for today, but into the future. Critical targets were clearly defined that addressed key pain points to encourage decarbonisation, such as improving real-world EV driving range, not just improved powertrains, but also more efficient ancillaries to tackle a key adoption barrier, range anxiety. Across projects, measurable outcomes were assessed at regular gateways, supporting successful delivery with both passenger cars and commercial vehicle type projects included within those topics to ensure a broad breadth of vehicles were addressed. And breakthroughs were achieved. For example, battery breakthroughs were demonstrated, as shown on the right here, in particular by Alice, which achieved close to 180 watt-hours per kilo on its output, which is over a 2x improvement on first-generation mass-market EVs, such as the Nissan Leaf. In addition, project outputs also offered cost reductions against relevant and representative benchmarks over the period. And now on to the final part here for the road transport decarbonisation. So through demonstration of 35 innovative technologies and integrating these into green vehicles throughout the initiative, EGVI projects could be said to have contributed to an increase in the number of electrified vehicles on the road. By not only producing components and testing components in isolation or in a sort of software or hardware in the loop type level, but creating integrated demonstrative vehicles, EGVI allowed a tangible demonstration of state-of-the-art technologies, advancing what was considered possible and showing that this was possible. This approach and the partnerships created in projects would likely have helped contribute to Europe's achievement of nearly 1 million electrified vehicles on the road in 2016 and 5 million in 2020 through demonstration of these new and improved technologies. In addition, as a leader in electrification, Europe as a market with EGVI's contribution has undoubtedly supported vehicle electrification and decarbonisation efforts worldwide, with some projects involving global stakeholders and spreading the outputs and approaches beyond just the EU market to more global markets themselves. In terms of successes, Optimus is a success story and started in June 2015. It looked at optimizing energy management via a vehicle occupant-centered approach to passenger comfort and component cooling to ultimately reduce range limitations. In terms of the participants, there was a broad group of public and private industry participants, I think over 20, and it resulted in objectives that exceeded real-world driving range goals and those for component cooling, passenger comfort, and traction energy consumption. It advanced technology maturity through to TRL6, and that also incorporated partnerships that looked at further commercialization opportunities. And also there was private research continuation from this, supporting further development and application, I guess, through to value-adding technologies on the road that we might see today. So on to the second of the three overall outcomes, improved industry competitiveness. EGVI contributed to improved industry competitiveness by fostering crucial skills, accelerating innovation processes, and improving knowledge sharing. EGVI fostered crucial green vehicle technology skills in 6 areas across its projects, supporting a more capable, adaptable, and competitive EU workforce. By helping create a more diverse and collaborative R&I network, EGVI could also have strengthened the EU automotive industry and may continue to attract battery production back to the EU with the potential to generate economic value of approximately 6 billion through to 2030. And 3, EGVI could have helped quicken EU time-to-market capabilities by over 12 months, which in itself potentially could generate 24 billion in additional revenue through to 2030, and create, along with the added EU battery production, up to 16,000 high-value green vehicle jobs by 2030. So to talk a little bit more in detail about each of these areas, we have one here. So among other areas, fostering green, crucial green vehicle technology skills. This was done over 6 areas, as shown on the right-hand side here. I won't read them all, but this included thermal systems design and simulation, low voltage electrical integration, and engineering simulation software development, amongst the others. These supported a more capable, adaptable, and competitive EU workforce, and in many cases led to the development of relevant educational programs and curricula, or helped support the development of these programs and curricula from project outputs. Projects such as DOMUS realise advancements in thermal systems design and simulation processes that could more efficiently support technology development. Focusing on speed and efficiency in R&D processes also supports the competitiveness of the EU. Improved skills and knowledge gained from projects enhanced EU workforce capability and likely allowed organisations to develop and adapt better to the fast evolving transport sector and its trends on a global basis. Meanwhile, better collaboration strengthens the EU automotive industry. The initiative led to a broad range of networking events. Better collaboration opportunities built around EGVI projects also fostered partnerships, increased knowledge sharing, and supported cross-industry innovation. Increased participation and benefits for businesses created a more diverse and resilient automotive industry, promoting regional growth and long-term sustainability, and ensuring a diversified R&I ecosystem. Improved knowledge and skills in battery technology, as mentioned, could potentially entice more of the battery value chain to the EU, boosting international competitiveness and building further competitive advantage that could generate economic value of 6 billion through to 2030. Now, faster innovation, which could support new jobs, may also have helped quicken EU time-to-market capabilities by over 12 months to deliver industry advantage and potentially generate 24 billion in additional revenue through to 2030. This could mean an estimated 40x return on investment compared to total public-private partnership funding, exceeding typical benchmarks in this area and demonstrating cost effectiveness and investment efficiency when combined with potential increased revenues from battery onshoring of 6 billion. From this additional revenue, the approximately 30 billion in total, there could be green job creation that helps to deliver up to 16,000 new skilled jobs in green vehicle technology sectors through to 2030 and contributes to a further cascade of economic growth and technological advancements in the EU and beyond. Another project success story supporting this industry competitiveness is DOMUS. DOMUS started in November 2017 and looked at improving user experience by developing and validating user-centric EV design guidelines and approaches that delivered processes and solutions to lower vehicle energy demand effectively. Participants were again broad, forging those links between public research and private industry to improve competitiveness with upwards of 20 participants. Though similar in topic to Optimus, which was presented a few moments ago, DOMUS helped really improve industry competitiveness by focusing on process, which helped deliver more efficient and effective methods to improve cabin design and cabin design processes for future EVs. It demonstrated successes in these areas by improving energy efficiency, safety, and comfort for future EVs and taking this technology to a higher level of maturity, and partially achieved its objectives to improve on state-of-the-art cabin conditioning systems which increased vehicle range by 20% on the UC28 and 15% WLTP. It's also led to further research proposals and even commercial projects, demonstrating the value of a better network collaboration through EGVI. A topic that segues quite nicely into the third key output of EGVI, so that is the research network development portion. So EGVI outputs have helped to develop a consensus that may have supported the development of industry targets as seen today. This could be attributed to the frameworks and recommendations created and shared via EGVI, leading to standardized solutions in the EU transport sector. Collaboration in this way may not have happened without the facilitation of EGVI, which helped increase efficiency of multi-party projects, reduce their risks, or the risk of the participants, I should say, and created synergies from a range of different experts from different backgrounds. Meanwhile, the topics created by the work programs created a broad set of participants, resulting in new channels for new partnerships and increased investment, as well as a stronger and more interconnected RNI system more broadly. Talking about point one, so information sharing from project outputs, such as frameworks and recommendations, provided guidance to standardization. As mentioned, projects often involved diverse stakeholders across many EU countries, tackling challenges and providing solutions applicable on a global scale, looking beyond localized and one-off solutions. EGVI contributed to industry-wide frameworks, regulations and position papers that support standardization through initiatives like Aeroflex, supporting EU consensus and broader industry direction to improve efficiency and effectiveness of outputs. By encouraging information sharing and collaboration, EGVI ensured global competitiveness, helping EU companies develop higher quality, cost-competitive solutions for international markets. Talking of point two, by facilitating collaboration, EGVI also drove targeted, relevant and efficient competency growth in the EU. Collaboration enabled diverse perspectives and knowledge sharing, leading to resource optimization and faster problem solving, as shown in questionnaire responses, which delivered efficiency gains. Collaborative projects like Assured allow participants to share resources and expertise, reducing individual R&D risks and enabling them to tackle, or the participants to tackle, more ambitious goals that would often not have been possible to address in isolation, based on commercial risks and overall costs with the RNI initiatives. EGVI supported R&D beyond large private entities as well, empowering small and medium enterprises along with academic institutions to contribute to competence growth across the EU, increasing the breadth of stakeholders involved in projects and investing and sharing their expertise within the EU RNI network. And finally, point three, the broad outreach and impactful projects attracted diverse participants, leading to more interconnected RNI ecosystem in the EU. Networking events encouraged new and long-term partnerships, leading to pilot studies beyond those that were included within the initiative, as evidenced by questionnaire results and participant testimonials, which fostered better innovation. EGVI's success in attracting committed private investments is shown by examples like Domus, where technology is developed and leading to new facilities that are being built and high-skilled jobs that were delivered and sought following that project. Network analysis also revealed that EGVIA members had more connections and improved information flows, creating a strengthened and more collaborative automotive ecosystem and supporting EGVI as an initiative to help bring together a better and more well-developed research network system. A success story that highlights this is Assured. Assured was started in October 2017, and it had a very broad remit looking at boosting the electrification of urban commercial vehicles and their integration with high power fast charging infrastructure, and then evaluating this infrastructure, like different infrastructures and these vehicles in different cities to understand better how to encourage adoption. Participation breadth was astonishing, really. When you look at it, I think there was over 40, maybe 45 individual participants, showcasing the sort of potential of these sort of PPP arrangements that bring together a huge array of different partners to deliver very ambitious goals. The sharing of risk amongst these participants allowed them to really progress and demonstrate significant progress. In terms of successes, there was the production and use of demonstrator charges with e-fleets that demonstrated a reduced charge time, lower total cost of ownership and CO2, as well as improved grid stability. There was also the development of conformance and interoperability test protocol and standards for vehicles and chargers. And a sort of consensus was helped to be built with the release of a pre-normative technology roadmap that was disseminated through industry. In addition to this, it showed a kind of a link through to previous R&I topics, such as Zeus from the original European Green Car Initiative that Lucy mentioned earlier, demonstrating that continuation and improvement of R&I. So ultimately, yeah, that sort of showcases research network developments, the third of our 3 outputs. So to summarize, EGVI achieved its objectives, laying the foundations for today's EU-funded R&I initiatives and generating tangible and intangible benefits for the EU transport industry and beyond. These outputs were clearly shown along these 3 key impact areas that we've been discussing. That's road transport decarbonisation, improved industry competitiveness, and better research network development. So that kind of captures and encompasses the broad sort of outputs and achievements of EGVI. As with all of this, these sort of projects and programs, there are some, areas where, whilst they could have done very well and delivered, there are opportunities for improvement. So from this research, from interviews and from questionnaires, 2 clear items came out of the impact assessment based on feedback. So these were 2 areas. One was increased speed of R&I project outputs, and the second was more of an R&I focus on technology cost reduction. So for increasing the speed of R&I project outputs, obviously, these projects are long in duration, and some suffered from perhaps longer, lengthy durations between topic publication and project kickoff, and long lead times on technical outputs meant that these outputs, when they made it through to the broader society, were less competitive and provided slightly lesser benefits than they could have done. However, it's to be noted that Horizon 2020 procedure was fully respected and met by EGVI and the EU Commission. For the second item, rebalancing R&I initiatives to just have a bit more of a focus on reducing technology costs may be helpful. Essentially, several projects did really focus on these affordabilities of solution type topics, ultimately providing cost savings to end customers. However, by increasing and having maybe more of a focus in this area, these very innovative decarbonisation technologies could be adopted by end consumers more quickly and have more of an impact on society and reducing emissions. Okay. Yep. So that essentially was the impact assessment in a nutshell, I guess. It's a lot to present in the short period of time that I had. But yeah, so I'll hand back over to Lucy now, and I think we'll kick off a panel discussion.
Thank you very much, Jacob, for the very nice and very comprehensive presentation you made about the outcomes. It's a quite extensive study, and I know it's sometimes a bit challenging to summarize every finding within just 25 minutes, and you managed to do it in a very nice way. So thank you very much. I will now invite Stefan to join us to start the panel discussion. Thank you, Stefan. And to all the participants, if you have some questions you would like to see addressed, please feel free to already put them in the chat. We are running a little bit late, but we will see if we manage to keep some time for a Q&A exchange with you also after this brief panel discussion. For some reason, I cannot see the slides anymore. Maybe it's only me, Bianca. But can you see a slide on the screen, Stefan?
No, not yet.
Okay. So we will share something again, but it doesn't matter. We can, yeah, great. Thank you.
Now I can see it. Okay.
Great. So thank you again, Jacob. As I was mentioning, the study is quite impressive and it was really a huge work. But of course, when you start performing such impact assessment, you always face some difficulties. Could you briefly explain if you faced any specific difficulty or limitation in the scope of the study, and what was really the focus areas that you focused on?
Of course. I guess I'll start with two questions there. If I look at limitations first, I guess given the breadth of EGVI as an initiative and the number of participants involved, some of the issues that we did realise were just managing to speak to everyone appropriately to get their inputs and to give a fair reflection on the broader base of those. Oh, sorry, I think there's a little bit of background noise.
It should be fine now.
Perfect. So I guess, a limitation from that was just making sure that we are able to speak to all of the project coordinators and some of the team members to get the data input that we needed, some of which was, challenging to acquire. In many cases, this was provided perfectly fine and on time. I think that, obviously it's understandable that given that it's a public-private type partnership in the way that this was delivered, it's not all information could be made publicly available. So understood that the limitations there were based just on time and the access to certain information. But I think that everything that was needed was provided. In terms of looking at the focus areas, as I've said already, I guess the study was set up to focus on those 6 key areas: relevance, effectiveness, efficiency, long-term EU benefits, attractiveness, and EGVI added value. All of these sort of areas were made up of various different subcategories and KPIs, and then assessed across those 3 kind of data sources. So looking at corroborating desk research, questionnaires, and interviews. From the desk research side, that was, from public domain type research documents, leading institutional and sort of industry bodies, and then the questionnaires and the interviews was based on what was delivered to us from EGVI participants. It was, I would say, a fairly robust process. We took inputs from across all of the 85 EGVI projects and interviewed a broad range of stakeholders, and then looked at these 3 key outputs: so decarbonisation, industry competitiveness, and research network development.
Thank you, Jacob. Indeed, we had these 6 evaluation criteria. These were not chosen randomly. I would say it's also the criteria used by the European Commission services when they perform assessment of different funding programs. This, of course, for an obvious reason, is that we would like to demonstrate what has been the outcomes based on what the Commission is looking for as well, because we have this partnership. But Stefan, let me ask you, how do you assess the robustness of this impact assessment, considering what Jacob just mentioned?
Yeah, I think it's a fair question, and it's a very complex question, because we are talking about pre-competitive research collaboration. And for sure, the question is correct. What was the outcome? Is it at the end? Was it successful? Was it helpful? Was it a good investment of money and time and resources? And to answer this question for a pre-competitive research collaboration is really something complex. But I think the methodology used by strategy engineers is robust. Why? Because here different sources are used. First of all, the projects themselves and the outcome of the projects. These are facts. These are facts. And when you look at the projects, you can see what was the state of the art when we started with the project and what has been achieved in the project. And this is a fact. It's a hard fact. So this is very reliable. And the other very important source are the members and the participants of the program themselves. And if we ask them, do you think it was helpful, successful, was it a benefit? And they say, yes, it was good. Then this is the best what we can achieve. And I think also nobody can expect that from a pre-competitive research collaboration, we can see the results one by one on the road. Everybody who is familiar with the innovation process knows that you need several projects, you need the pre-competitive phase, and then you need a phase where you really make an internal development, and then the industrialization and so on. So different phases. So it's not possible to have a one by one connection from research programs, European funded research projects, to the situation on the road. But then what you can see is the overall direction, how the road transport develops. And this was also mentioned and used by strategy engineers. So we are all working in the same direction. All the stakeholders are working in the same direction. And this is a clear result also in the report. So from my side, I would like to congratulate strategy engineers for this report. I stop here.
Thank you, Stefan. As Stefan mentioned, Jacob, it's very difficult to sometimes to be able to quantify what is the specific added value of EGVI activities in a global portfolio of activities that are performed by members, industry members, but also the research partners. And this is an issue we faced many times in the past, also working on previous impact assessment. How have you managed to overcome this issue of quantifying really the added value and the impact of the partnership? Can you explain a little bit?
Yes, of course. No, I think that Stefan really did add some good points there. I guess it is hard to quantify the impact of these initiatives, given the timelines, given the direct line of sight through to commercialization, and ultimately the fact that benefits can be tangible and intangible. Maybe some hard quantification, but also slightly more difficult and challenging benefits have come from it. For example, it's harder to quantify the value of the skills gained by participants, though naturally they will be advancing and helping to support the R&I ecosystem broadly, and be dispersing their skills as they move through different roles within commercial organizations. But for the more sort of tangible, I guess, we obviously had the quantification based on the direct feedback from those who had their fingers on the pulse. So the EGVI participants from questionnaires and interviews, which were taken throughout the project. And then from the project outcomes themselves, so from looking at the data and going through 85 of those projects to really work and sort of combine all of their individual outputs into a broader impact. In terms of the quantification, I did mention a few figures in the presentation. One of the things we looked at was, what could be improved from a time to market type perspective. in terms of bringing technologies from a very early phase of maturity through to obviously not necessarily commercialized technologies, but much more mature technologies. And we kind of worked out from that and from the outputs of the projects that some 12 months were being taken off this lead time through to delivering sort of outputs based on the accelerated rates of R&I initiatives within EGVI. And this could be recognized in products and in revenue realization in broader commercial terms down the line.
Yeah, for me especially, I think because we struggled in the past to really be able to extract some economical figures out of the impact assessment of technology, it was really nice to see that you were able to come up with some figures on especially on this part, not only of course, but also especially on this one. Can you maybe just very briefly, because we still have a lot of points to touch upon, and I really would like to deep dive in some of the other items we have here. But can you just briefly elaborate on how you managed to get to this financial data from a methodological perspective, if I may say so?
Okay. From I guess from a very high level, more details are available in the report itself. We split this economic added value into two critical areas. So as mentioned quite heavily today, the faster time to market was the first, and then the second was increasing the value of the battery chain within Europe. For the former, obviously, we kind of went through our interview process and found out that sort of 12 months improvement in time to market could be achieved, particularly for innovative battery performance type fields. And we use this to look at increased adoption potential, particularly within those vehicles that really do rely on very innovative battery technologies, such as class-leading E-segment type vehicles and high performance and power commercial vehicles, and then use that to just demonstrate the increased market size and economic uplift. For the second point, we looked at the sort of reshoring of battery value into the EU. Obviously, over time, with the non-EU origin battery materials, regulations coming into effect, there's going to be a natural incentive to reallocate and redistribute some battery value chain through to the EU. Obviously, there's plenty here now, but obviously that's going to grow. But we made the assumption that, again, in these very highly sensitive and innovative areas, such as E-segment vehicles and commercial vehicles, that potentially with this development in innovative skills and capabilities within the EU market, there's the opportunity to bring more than just this dictated non-EU or originating material percentage back to the EU, and that we could accelerate that through improved capabilities. All in all, these two together could contribute up to 30 billion through to 2030. So that's the nutshell. Obviously, it's not. It's a bit more complex, but it's in the report.
Yeah. Of course, all details are included in the report that everyone can find also online via our website. Stefan, I would like to, let's say, very quickly deep dive into one of the key area of the Green Vehicle Partnership, which was decarbonization of road transport, of course. This was the main aim of the partnership. And in the past, we very often stated in many activities, in many communication, that more efforts are needed in three different areas: vehicle cost, vehicle range, and charging infrastructure. Based on the findings from strategy engineers, how would you say we performed in these three areas?
Yeah, thank you. I still believe that these key elements, they had been the key questions. These are the right questions. The costs, the range, the charging infrastructure. And when we look at the costs, there really a lot of achievements are there, and we can find them in the report and in the projects. Are we good enough? No. we have to continue. And this was also a finding from you, Jacob, that you said we have to continue in the cost reduction. This is an element which is still ongoing, and this is absolutely needed for the take up of electrified vehicles and electric vehicles in the mass market. And here we are in the competition with China, with the US. So the costs, yes, we had been successful, but we need to continue. And this is the case in a 2.0 partnership and others. When you look at the range, and when we look back in the situation when the Green Vehicle Initiative was started, the range was really a key issue, and it was the pain point for all the customers. I think now we have a good level. We have a good level for the range, and so now it's more range going to efficiency of the vehicle, to increase the range by efficiency, or to reduce cost of the batteries and materials and so on. So range is not that problematic than it was years before. When we look at the charging infrastructure, this is still a pain point. And here we need to work, because we need to convince now a broad community of users and of customers to buy a battery electric vehicle. So the charging infrastructure is needed. It's needed for charging at home, for charging at work, for the highways, and here we need the connection with the energy sector. We need the connection with the colleagues from the infrastructure. We need software supported solutions. We need smart charging, but smart charging is not only a solution for managing the shortages. It must be a solution for the users, that the vehicle is charged when it is needed. So charging is still a pain point, and here we need to collaborate with many other sectors, and therefore I'm very happy that the 2.0 partnership has this system approach with actors from the infrastructure, from the energy sector. So I'm totally in line with the key findings of presented by Jacob.
Thank you, Stefan. Jacob, overall, the study is, the assessment you made out of Green Vehicle is quite positive. But is there anything in particular while doing the study that really strike you, like one key outcome that was very surprising for you?
Yeah, I think probably what I'd say is that from talking with all the individuals within interviews and reviewing the questionnaire feedback, I think the synergy gains in R&I initiatives from EGVI was probably the most striking. In terms of participants, I think 96% of participants believe that the shared projects and synergies led to an increased spending efficiency and enabled more targeted future R&D activities. But also, I think that the continued contribution of research topics following project completion was quite interesting. So out of, again, those questionnaire participants, the vast majority said that they had continued to contribute to research in these project topic areas after EGVI was completed. So it really acted as a seed to encourage further R&I initiatives and, I guess, private R&I going forward in these topic areas, which is very, very interesting. In terms of sort of a surprising outcome was the fact that long-term working relationships were often established from the projects. So most of the respondents said that after having worked with different organisations and partners in their projects, they established long-term working relationships and synergies that continued long beyond EGVI and its outputs.
For me, this is not so surprising. Maybe it's the experience talking as well, because I've known. I've been aware of this benefit for a long time from our members, but also from project partners. What was very surprising for me, and I have to say, sometimes also a little bit creating a little bit of concerns, because we will have to continue demonstrating maybe even better figure, is the 40 times return on investments that you mentioned in the report. Would you like to comment on this?
Yes. Okay. So the 40x return on investment basically was from taking the estimates from the economic value add, the figure of 30 billion through to 2030, and looking at that in comparison to the investments made in the EGVI initiative. And yeah, it's a very high figure, very impressive. I think that in comparing with other sort of comparable initiatives, other initiatives have developed, the highly successful public research programs have achieved, upwards of 30x or so. So, I mean, the 40x delivered within this, based on our analysis, falls within the bounds, but on the upper side, and certainly does seem to be very impressive.
Yeah, for sure. Stefan, the high return on investments is one of the EGVI specificities, I would say. What else makes EGVI a specific initiative compared to other funding programs from your perspective?
Yeah, I think in a contractual public-private partnership, one benefit is really the direct cooperation with the European Commission. To be honest, we are not always coming totally from the same perspective. We come from different perspectives. We are not always aligned from the very beginning. And this is the benefit, that we have the collaboration and we have the exchange, we have the discussion, we can learn, and then we can define a common landing area where we all can agree. And this is really a very, very helpful and good element of the public-private partnerships. The public-private partnerships, they have a specific focus program for 7 years, a clear focus with a clear outcome. On the other side, systems like road transport, they are very complex. And so the question is, can we do all the European research work in PPPs? And here, I think, no, this would not be a good approach. The PPPs are helpful and needed, but there are always elements which develop in these 7 years, new technologies, new priorities, and we also need to deal with areas which are not in the focus area of the actual policy, but they still need to develop and to continue. And therefore, the technology platforms are also very much needed, and they are a continuation. So based on my experience, I would say a successful public-private partnership needs as a backup a successful technology platform. And we can see this when we look at the Green Vehicle Initiative, and now at the 2.0 and the CCAM initiative. They are, I think, really successful, and they have this close collaboration with the technology platforms. I stop here.
Thank you very much, Stefan. Would you like to add anything, Jacob, regarding the specificities of EGVI compared to other programs?
I think that Stefan really did give a comprehensive answer there. I think just from the information coming out of the impact assessment, it's very clear that EGVI as a public-private partnership allowed projects to really focus on what is relevant and truly creates recognised benefits by bringing together and sort of mating that public side with the private side. So you can see how industry players and where industry players are going, but taking on that public side, leading research and sort of melding it together to create synergies that deliver a better output ultimately down the line to consumers. And I think that's something that's really quite unique in delivering outputs from EGVI.
Thank you to both of you. I think the specificities of EGVI that both of you just mentioned, they are still very much at the core of what 2.0, the follow-up partnership, is already today. Stefan, would you like to maybe briefly present what are the lessons learned that we could take away in the 2.0 based on the outcome of the study?
Yeah, in a very short way. We need to continue to work on the costs, as we said. Then, if we look at the success stories of Green Vehicle, we can learn that these projects, they here we didn't describe in the call the solution. So we need to have an openness in terms of technology, how to achieve the solution, not defining the technology. And then Jacob, you mentioned the time scale for the call preparation and for the final start of the projects. When I look at our time scale, how much time it takes from the first discussion until the calls are really published, then we need much more than 1 year. And this is a time scale which does not fit to modern society and to the technical development in our sector. Here we need a drastic reduction of the time. And from an industrial perspective, I would like to say 3 months from the start of the discussion until the final commitment for the calls should be enough. Let's make it in a concentrated way, but save time. I stop here.
Thank you, Stefan. It seems to me like you want to challenge my working style as well as the rest of the partnership, but it's fine. It's fine. Jacob, what opportunities do you see to further improve the partnership in the future based on your work?
Yes. Okay. I think that, well, really it was mostly covered by Stefan there. As I presented and mentioned earlier, the two key aspects that was really coming from the research that we did based on the participation and some of the desk research was the speed of research calls, which I think was just called out as a challenge, and then the rebalancing of focus to look more at cost reduction. I guess we've kind of spoken about both of those. I think beyond this, I think sort of encouraging the current approach or the approach that was used in EGVI to help build those R&I ecosystems and continuing in this way with these supported initiatives will really lead to better and more strengthened R&I ecosystems within the EU and hopefully keep generating the innovative outputs that we have seen over the past decade or so.
Thank you, Jacob. Before ending formally the webinar, I just wanted to give you the floor once again, Stefan, in case you would like to share with us in maybe just one sentence what really made you proud of the European Green Vehicle Initiative.
The collaboration of the different stakeholders. Isn't it fantastic that academic partners are collaborating with industrial partners? Isn't it fantastic that competitors are working together in a common direction? That's fantastic, and here we all are proud to be part of this. I stop here.
Thank you, Stefan. Thank you to both of you. Unfortunately, now we have reached 3 o'clock already, and we won't have time really to address the few questions we received on the chat. But I hope that people who addressed us some questions will be able to find the answers by reading the full version of the document that you can find on our website. I just want to thank you once again for your participation, for your interest into the Green Vehicle initiative, and most likely for your active participation in the past, and hopefully as well in future activities of the 2.0 partnership. So thank you very much. Thank you, Stefan. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you all. I wish you a very nice afternoon, and I hope to have the chance to meet with you again very soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Lucy.
Bye.